Our first guest today is James R. Gregory, best-selling author, chairman at Tenet Partners, and leading branding expert. He discusses the importance of branding to the success of your business. Find out more about James at tenetpartners.com. Our second guest is return guest Cindy Battino, life coach, energy worker, separation divorce specialist, talks about what does happiness mean to you and what are some of the things preventing your happiness. Find out more about Cindy and her practice at transform-heal.com. Hi, James. Welcome to Savvy Business Radio. How are you today?
I'm well. How are you doing?
I'm doing fabulous, and I'm very happy to have you out here today. You help companies manage their brand, and often that requires them getting really in touch with their customers' experience and also understanding what drives their brand, how do people interpret it, how is the public interpreting in that. But before we go to all those awesome topics, share with our audience how you came to working in this sect and doing the work you do.
Well, I started at a very early age. Right out of school, I went to New York and opened my own firm at the age of 23 and on Madison Avenue, and I aspired to be an advertising agency, but I always wanted to have my own firm. So it was a bold move to do that in the world of giants. I was very small and decided to do that. That was 40 years ago that I started that, and recently merged the company after 40 years with another firm, and we are now known as Tenet Partners, and I am the chairman of the combined companies.
Wow, that is quite a feat. 23 years old. There's not many people who can say they started a business on Madison Avenue in New York City, the biggest city in the universe here.
That's true. And sometimes I think I had more guts than brains, but it was a lot of fun. My wife was my partner, by the way, and we had just a great life of running this business over the years.
What intrigued you in particular with working in the realm of marketing?
Well, I was a graphic designer by training, and I really enjoyed the work that we were doing, especially as it related to corporate brands. The advertising campaigns that we developed for companies like Reader's Digest to take them public, I realized there were a couple of great things about that. One, that I got to work with the CEOs of these companies and really develop a big structure, a big strategy. And I also got to see how important a big strategy was to the actual execution, to the marketing programs that they developed. And Reader's Digest, for example, was much more than just the magazine, a book division and a music division, and how if you promoted the corporate brand, the vision of the company, that it would work and help all aspects of the company.
And I think it's a good time for us to mention or maybe bring to the audience, because I wasn't always clear on this myself, what exactly encompasses marketing as opposed to your brand, and what is exactly a brand? When you're starting a brand spanking new company and you're like, I got to get clear on my brand, what is a brand?
Well, I like to explain it like this. There's product branding where you're trying to market and promote individual products. If you're a toothpaste company, you're focused on that toothpaste. You want people to come in and purchase that particular product. So you can focus really on the consumer and a message directly to the consumer. Mm-hmm. My niche has always been on the corporate branding side, where we're focused on the image of the company and how all those range of products fit underneath that corporate umbrella. And that's what we call corporate branding. So mm-hmm. There you also have marketing, but you're marketing to a number of different audiences. You're marketing to shareholders. You're trying to get shareholders interested in either keeping your stock or buying more. You're interested in speaking to the media. You want them to always tell pleasant stories about your company. But you're also focused on employees because you want to send a message out there for them to understand what their role is in building the company's reputation. And finally, customers. People like to do business with companies they know. So if they like the Colgate story, they're more likely to buy Colgate toothpaste mm-hmm. and the Colgate stock. So it's that kind of concept where you're really focused on the corporate brand or the product brand. Both of them require marketing and advertising and promotion and all of those things.
So essentially, really, a corporate brand is really how all those components really see you, the image they have of your business, whether it be the stockholders, the customers, the employees. It's all of their combined image of the company, the corporate brand.
That's exactly right.
Mm-hmm. And so then it really behooves the company to really get clear on what it is your mission is, what kind of image do you want to put out into the public in all realms, so that it really comes across as such. Because I've worked with some tremendous, amazing businesses doing really wonderful work in the world, but they weren't really clear. Like I would talk to their clients, I would talk to their employees, because I come in and help restructure their accounting departments. And really often they would be disparaging ideas of what the brand was all about and the image of the company from different parties. And I was like, whoa, that's really telling here. So what would you tell a company who said, hey, I want to get clear that all the sects really see our brand as we desire them to see us? How do they get started on that?
Well, you're describing it exactly the right way. The corporate brand is like a radio station. It's putting out a signal. And that signal is going out, and it goes to those different audiences. And some audiences might hear static rather than a clear signal. And so we call that alignment. You have to align that signal so that through the culture and behavior of the company, through the business process, and through communications, all of those different things are aligned for each of those different audiences. So it's the same signal going out, but you have to make sure that the audiences are receptive to that signal.
That is a really tremendous point. And this recalls for me a client I worked in, as I said, in the accounting sect. And I started talking to their their customers and said, okay, what's working, what's not working? What would you like to see made different to help you out in the function they provide for you? And they said, well, for one, we'd like to call the company and actually get transferred to one person instead of 20 people, and each of them not knowing what the heck we need. I brought this to upper management, and they were shocked that any of their customers were being tossed about. And it wasn't by any one particular person's fault. It wasn't like people at the company didn't care to help the customers. It's just that there wasn't proper training in certain sects that could properly deal with people calling in and put them in the right location with the right people. And so the general consensus from the customer was, this company really doesn't care for me once I sign on the dotted line, which was further from the truth.
To add to that is that it's one of the reasons why it's so critically important that you conduct research among your different constituencies periodically. You might think you know how they feel, but actually interviewing them and talking to them about their issues and about how they deal with their customers will give you tremendous feedback about how your company is actually performing. So you can have a great vision, but if the customer service doesn't align with that vision, then you've wasted a lot of time and effort in trying to build a consistency. It's a great way to keep tabs on your customers and making sure that they really understand what you're all about.
Mm-hmm. And is this something your company can come out and do for a corporation that's listening in today? Maybe they're saying, okay, we want to get a better handle on our marketing, maybe see how our customers are feeling, get a temperature on how things are going, how are we competing with the marketplace? Is there something we can do to provide it better? How do you work with people when your company comes in?
Well, that's exactly what we do. We help them understand their current brand and then identify the strategy to build and lift that brand to the vision that the senior management has. And even if the senior management is struggling with that vision, we can help them understand how to utilize this research to say, well, here's where you are today, but you're really just competing at the same level as these other folks, as your peer companies, but here's a part of the market will help you become differentiated. So differentiation from your peers is a real important way to build your brand, and that's something that we do.
Yes, and it can be anything. I mean, look, we were looking at Domino's, my friend and I. It's like, they make pizza. There's a lot of pizza shops out there. There's nothing tremendous about that. But what they made an effort to do is to be the ones that could get you a really yummy pizza in a half hour or less, and that became their standard. But then, of course, the thing is, whatever you decide to deliver, you have to actually make sure you can do whatever you're promising.
You bet.
Yeah.
I mean, you can lose your reputation in one customer experience that goes bad.
Yeah, and that's something I'd like to talk to you more about, customer experience. How important is it to provide a good quality customer experience? And what does that mean, providing a customer experience?
Well, we talk a lot about the journey of your customer experience. And actually, the journey means, you follow the journey of a consumer from the point where they learn about your company through the purchase of a product or service and then the follow-up. And it's amazing how often that you get derailed from a high-quality experience. There are companies that do customer experience really well. I mean, like in our shining examples, Apple Computer, the Apple Store, just amazing, the experience in there. And it's always very, very consistent. And consistency is one of the key elements of having a good customer experience. Also, it's very important. A good customer experience just doesn't happen by happen chance. It really takes a lot of training, employee training, helping the employees to understand what the vision of the company is, what you're trying to accomplish strategically, and then how to use various tactics to make sure that that customer experience is consistent with what the vision is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that is a really, really good point because it starts very at the conception of clients even getting to know who you are, maybe feedback from other customers who've used your service. And I've had some experiences at places that started out with quality customer care, maybe at the food location, and then they've gone downhill because maybe, as you said, poor training, not having a clear vision of what they're trying to do and the experience they're trying to create for their customers. I mean, here at Savvy, what we did is we found that there was one product in particular that was really getting helping our clients the most. And so we found that to better serve people, we cut back on the number of products we're offering and services so that we could better provide and give them that much a better experience when they come to hang with us. Yeah.
That's a real interesting point because entrepreneurs tend to just keep piling on. They seldom take things out of the equation for better customer service. They tend to just throw another log on the fire, and even if they're smothering the fire. It's very, very important to be able to do what you promise. If you make a promise, you must deliver. And that is a key component of, having a really good customer experience.
Yeah. And it came from actually, and we talked about this earlier, really getting a clue on what do your customers really need right now. And by really talking to our clients, we found that the emotional experience is more important than, say, the technical aspect. Every client and depending on what you're offering will be different for every single person, but really getting a clear perspective on what your client really desires, what's most important for them in the delivery of your product.
Absolutely. As much as I love Apple, they don't always deliver a perfectly good technical product, or I'm not 100% satisfied with them 100% of the time. Mm-hmm. That's nearly impossible. But it's the promise that they have and the belief that I have that keeps you coming back even if you have a slightly off experience. That's true no matter what business you're in, no matter how big or how small the company. You believe in the people who are serving and the vision of the company, and you're much more willing to forgive and try them again.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's an ongoing process. Really getting in touch and what do they need now? Because when you started your brand or your company, say 5-10 years back or whatever it is, maybe the clientele in the market was looking for a certain something, and maybe today it's different as the markets change, life changes, technology changes, as we've seen drastically. So often it just takes making course corrections so you can meet what best fits your clients today.
Yeah, and again, that's why research is so important. Talk to your customers. You may think you know your customers. You may think you know your employees. You may think you know all these different constituencies that are important, but unless you talk to them in a kind of a formal way, and sometimes it's good to have a third party actually doing that talking so that they get the real answers. You really, unless you do that, you're not getting the full scope of where you stand and what those desires are, or how they're changing. Quite often, if they're talking to a principal about these things, then the principal will say, they'll say things that are designed to please the owner of the company rather than to really give the true answer.
Yeah, and it's very interesting also to get clear on, who it is you are serving, because I talk to a lot of startups or entrepreneurs who you say, who do you serve? Well, anyone who, one dentist said, anyone who has teeth. Well, that's a bit of an issue because everyone has teeth, but that can't be everyone. That can't be your target market. But having a clear picture, who is the person I'm really, really serving and how can I meet their needs? Now, here's something someone told me. He said, say Starbucks. I love Starbucks. I come in there, they make the coffee just the the way you want it. Yes, it's $5, but they will make the coffee to your liking absolutely every time, and they know my name. Now, this one guy I talked to, he's a big CEO of a big corporation. He's like, I don't got time for Starbucks. I don't care if they know my name. I want my coffee. I want it now. So, see, he's a different clientele. Starbucks would not be the best location for him, the best company for him, because what he wants is service right now, right here, no fun stuff. Now, you don't need to know my name. Just give me the coffee.
Yeah, I'm with him.
That's interesting. It's that the company has to know who is my market. My market then would not be someone who's a CEO type A person who needs to be on the go. Let's go, let's go, let's go.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's interesting. So also, what are some of the strategies for social media engagement? Because here's something I see, and it drives me a little crazy. I see some people tweeting or Facebooking a lot, and it's kind of like sell, 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 push, push, push. But sometimes I don't really see that kind of engagement with the audience.
I think that it's in the area of social media, quality beats quantity every time. And I think it's very important to understand and listen to what people are talking about on social media, especially in your field and especially about your company, and to be in tune with that and to be able to be responsive to it. It's also important to be, well, depending on the company, but I think generally speaking, it's important to control the conversation as much as possible. Now, some people think that's not the way you're supposed to do it, but I believe that controlling the conversation means coming up with ideas, throwing out concepts, developing the dialogue, the discussion, creating a community that is engaged with your brand is a really, really good thing. And so I think that's really important. Also, social media can destroy a brand faster than ever. It used to be that if there was a major problem, you had a few weeks to respond to it. Now it's instantaneous. You really need to know how to do it and have contingency plans that you can put into place if there's a crisis or a problem. Boy, the dynamics of communication have really changed.
Yes, and to really have safeguards in place that you can answer something that comes up. An interesting point that happened a couple of years ago is there was a huge corporation that got some bad beef on Twitter, and they had this instant kind of messaging thing that goes out, you set it preset that someone emails you, just say, thank you for cooperating, we'll get back to you as soon as possible type of thing. You're a valued customer, we want to help you. But there was nothing after that. So it was a preset message that they had sent out, and the person was really, really dishing on this company, and they got this prefabbed message. And it's wonderful that we're in the age of technology. It's not wonderful that they didn't have someone on standby to check the message coming back saying, whoa, 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 problem here, need to address, emergency. To have those safeguards and ways in which you can really check, engage, are our customers happy? How do I respond to them on social media?
Absolutely.
Yeah. What would you say you've seen as some of the big faux pas using social media in marketing? You just mentioned, actually, which is not really having engagement with our audience, is really just, kind of throwing stuff out there or sell, sell, sell. I'm pretty sure that most people don't want to be sold to, and I hear it over and over again. If you have a valued service or product, it's not about throwing it down someone's throat. It's about sharing what unique gifts and talents you have so that people can gain from it and be like, oh, I can't wait to have you on board. It's hire your company to help me out.
Absolutely. That's so important. And honesty, building trust is such a critical issue. And I see social media as a trust building mechanism. Again, you don't need to put out a lot of volume out there. You need to be honest and trustworthy and consistent. That's a critical area.
Yeah, and you mentioned the key word again, consistency. That's another thing. I've talked to a lot of entrepreneurs who say, oh, I have a newsletter, I have a bunch of blogs I do a podcast, and then when you look at the consistency of each of their marketing distribution ways, they're inconsistent at it because they can't do it all, especially if you're a new business that maybe be of one or two or a couple people. You've got to dull out your time and like, my market, my brand, what are the best means or modes to get my information out, and choose one or two or however you can make work consistently so you're not really spreading yourself too thin.
Right.
What have you found as some of the top ways to get the message out for your clients? I mean, do you use podcasting now? I mean, it is rather, I think, a newer way to get the message out.
Yes, we do. And a fair number of podcasts, especially as it relates to my book. Anytime you come out with a new book or you come out with a new program of any kind, you really have something to talk about. And so, sure, I like to go out there. And when you mentioned consistency a minute ago,
Yeah.
one of the things that we like to tell people is if there is one piece of advice that I can speak to, it's being clear, concise, and consistent in your communications. That's what helps build brands faster than any other method of communication. Clear, concise, consistent.
Yeah, because they can know that you're dependable. They can know they can count on you. And whatever it might be, it might not be that how many posts you're doing or how many newsletters go out, but that they know that whatever your brand is, they can count on you every single time. If you're a food joint, that every single time they go in, they can get an awesome burger. If it's a computer, that every single time they come into your computer shop, your computer is going to be sold a great computer that works for years to come, whatever it might be, whatever your product or service is.
Well, you think about the stores that you like to go into, and it's almost always there's a personality behind that store. That whether it's a warm greeting or a twinkle in the eye, or it's just like there's something about that really grabs you. And it's the same thing with social media or advertising or anything else, that you have to kind of nurture that personality, that warmth in your brand.
And that is a really good point. I had a marketer come on a couple of years ago who told me that she was working with a client who was an entrepreneur, and very, very, she worked corporate-wise, so she was very clear-cut, very corporate cut, very conservative. But she had a Facebook page, and she would let her Facebook kind of personal message spill into her business Facebook page, and some of them were questionable. It was, hanging out at a bar and having a bunch of drinks and shooting the breeze. And her marketer friend was like, listen, is this the image of your company? I mean, you have to understand that what you put out into the universe of cyberspace is being picked up. And this image you're presenting is not the image you're telling me that you want your corporation to put out.
Wow, that's really an interesting one, and you're precise. You're exactly right. And that's that static you hear. Where it's not working. And she might not even know why. Mm-hmm. It's just it becomes part of that brand without almost on a subliminal basis, rather than something that they think is happening with their brand. It's becoming deteriorated by that interaction. Very interesting case.
Yeah, and that's why it's very important to hire someone like you and your company, James, so that they can get a handle on what's really going on with their clientele, with their employees even, because I think that's one thing that kind of gets missed by a lot of corporations is they're like, employee schmoys, we'll get new ones if those don't work out. But they are truly the first front face of who's presenting your products or services to the public. And if they're presenting not a picture you want presented to the public, it could really, really hurt your brand.
They are your brand ambassadors, and they want to help the brand. They want to help the company. They want to see the company be successful. But unless the company presents a clear direction for them, unless they train them and tell them how they want them to be and provide the direction that they're seeking, then they're on their own, and they're not as effective that way. So training employees is a really, really good investment. And as you said, some employers think that, if they don't do what I want, I'll just get another one. Yeah. But that's not the way to think about it. You make an investment with them in terms of not just the pay, but the training and the time they get to learn the culture of the company. You really want to hold on to those people because they're the ones that can make all the difference for the company.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is true or not. One marketer told me that any negative experience a customer has, they will talk about it at least to 10 different people. Whereas a positive experience, they'll just be happy about it, tell one or two people, and that's it. Right. But I think the same could go for your employees. Disgruntled employees will go out into the universe and tell everyone negative stuff about your brand and company, and you definitely don't want that.
Right, for sure.
Yeah. Well, you have a wonderful book. Share with everyone where they can get your book, Powerhouse, The Secrets Corporate Branding ebook, and find out more about you.
Sure. The book is a international bestseller. I'm happy to say I've written a number of books, and Powerhouse, The Secrets of Corporate Branding is the first time I've had an international bestseller. So I'm very excited about it. And what this is a compilation of stories and things that I've seen work. These are experiences that I've seen work out in the field. So it's an easy read for entrepreneurs or CEOs. It's available through Amazon.com, and I am available if anybody's interested in reaching out to me through my website, which is tenetpartners.com, Tenet partners.com. And my name, Gregory at tenetpartners.com is my direct email address.
Wow. Well, that's been so beneficial. Thank you for opening up and sharing all your wisdom and gifts. Great having you out here today. Thank you.
It was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me.
Here's our interview with Cindy Battino. Hi, Cindy. Welcome back. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Christina. I'm so excited to talk to you today. We're going to have so much fun. It's just, I love talking about being happy.
Yay! And this is today's topic on the show, Quest to Happiness, finding your own quest to happiness, because being happy is not always the same for every single person. And we often go through trying to find that happiness in different places and people and things, and we just can't seem to find it. And I know for myself, I've come about with this, in different areas of my life of not having enoughness, whether it be enough friends or enough happiness or health. And so share with folks, before we even get started with the happiness talk, first tell folks what you do, what you're all about, so that they can get to know you a little bit before we get started, if they didn't hear our first interviews, and then we'll get started with all the happiness fun stuff.
Okay, so I am a transformational life coach and an energy worker. And it is my love and dream to have a business, which I do now, that serves people and helps them find the beauty in themselves and more happiness and passion in their lives. Christina, we're going to talk about your quest for happiness, my quest for happiness. Everybody out there, everybody there that is walking this quest or wants to or is curious about it, or, we're not special, Christina. If we can walk this quest and find more happiness in our lives, then so can everybody else. I mean, we're not these abnormal beings, right?
Absolutely. And it's true, because when you say dancing in the rain, there's been some times that are really, really not fun in my life or difficult. And you think, and you kind of wish those things would go away. But when you start to look at it, like, what is the gifts in this moment? Even the difficult moments, I found that, they're still difficult. You'd rather not be in that specific space. But what and what I often tell myself, though, is this is just right now. This is just winter. It is a season. It is not forever. Let's just go through it with as much grace. And I always ask for God to just help me through this difficult moment and help me go through it with as much grace as possible and see what I can gain from it and what I can learn. What would you say from anyone who might be going through a winter right now where happiness seems like the furthest thing from their mind?
Oh, it doesn't seem possible. It seems absolutely, actually impossible. And the key, I think, is when we're in those times, there's a reason. My personal belief is that God does not punish. So we're not listening. So what is here for us? What do we need to learn? What are we not listening to? Where is that diamond that is covered up right now by all this stuff?
Nuffiness, yeah.
And it's searching for that diamond. And again, that might seem silly, impossible, but it's real. And I have not found a situation in my life or in my clients' lives where that isn't true. Can I give you an example?
Oh, go for it. Yes.
Okay. So I started my quest for happiness when I was in my early 30s. And I realized that there was a disconnect between my reality and my truth. Okay? So the reality was that I had these two young, beautiful children they were really good kids, Christina. I'm not kidding. They were not terrors. They were not awful. They did not keep me up all night. They did not, they were really good kids. I had a husband that I loved and loved me. I had a cute little house. I had a roof over my head. I had food on the table. And that was my reality. And most people look at that and go, you had a pretty good girl.
Yeah.
My truth was I was freaking miserable. I was miserable. And so I wanted to take it a step further, because when you have one aha moment, those usually lead to other aha moments, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, well, okay, so why am I miserable when I'm in this really nice situation? This isn't a horrible situation.
Mm-hmm.
And what I realized then was that I was the common denominator. I was the common denominator in my misery. But the best part of that means that then I can be and I am the common denominator in my happiness.
Mm.
If I have the power to make myself miserable in this good situation, then I have the power, right, to make myself happy in this situation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So then I took it one step further, right? So you're like, okay, I get that, but now what do I do? What do I do with this? Why am I unhappy in this good situation?
Mm.
And what I realized was I didn't have anyone from the time that I was born on. I didn't have anybody in my life that were role models, teachers, guides, mentors that taught me how to be happy.
Mm.
I didn't know how to create a happy and healthy marriage, because that's not where I came from. I didn't know, I didn't have a family environment that everybody was happy most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have anybody to teach me how to be a great parent and be a happy, healthy parent. I had the complete opposite. So that's when I really dug in and started my quest for happiness, because damn it, I wanted to be happy. I didn't want to be angry anymore. I didn't want to be miserable anymore. I wanted to be the best parent I could be. I wanted to be the best spouse I could be. And I was willing to do anything I needed to do to find these teachers, mentors, role models, guides, spiritual, whatever, that were going to help me walk this path toward happiness in my life. And that's what I did. I started going to classes. I went to the 4-year licensed baccalaureate school of Barbara Brennan School of Healing. I started going to workshops. I traveled around the country in search of like-minded people and people who had something I didn't have, which was a different perspective and different skills.
Yeah, you just mentioned, I think, a key word there, and that is perspective. And because I know for myself, there was a time, now probably 10 years ago, where I was sitting in a corporate environment that was actually not very instrumental to my overall health. It didn't really match my integrity and values. They were doing something I felt was not really ethical. But I stayed there for a paycheck, and I said to myself, is this it? Am I just going to die and do this for the rest of my life? Oh, I can't do that. I will lose my mind. But I saw it as, things have to change on the outside. If I get this better job, and I kept going about that role for the next 7 years, reading self-help books on the side, hoping that I would come up with a glorious, boom, that is the answer. That's it. It's done. Now I can be happy
quick fix.
with my life. Yeah, the quick fix. And we have a lot of us like that in this culture. I know I did, and it's nice when you can find that quick fix, but there is no real quick fix. What I realized is that really when you can be happy where you're at, and now people see me in the morning, I'm consulting, doing what I did back in corporate, and doing this, and people are like, you're always so happy. You must be a morning person. I'm like, no, I'm just choosing to be happy. Right. But it's because now I've found a greater sense of purpose and servitude, and I get to do what I love. And I think that makes a big difference when you're able to say, hey, this is my greatest gifts and talents, and I'm using it to serve the world. What is your perspective on that?
Well, I think that there are many paths to the same place. And everyone has their own unique path. So for you, your purpose was huge. Doing what you love to do every day. And in that, you were willing to give up the paycheck, right? Right. So we have to be willing to give something up to get something that we believe, that we have faith in, that's even better. So, was the paycheck enough? Right? No, it wasn't enough. And Christina, how many people listening to you struggle with What is enough?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, is the paycheck enough? Is the job enough? Is this husband or wife enough?
Yeah.
Where do we find our enoughness? And what I know, because this is a hard path to walk. I'm still walking it. It's still a challenge, what is enough, and defining that for me in my own unique way is we try to fill that void. It's a void that's within ourselves. And we try to fill it with shoes or clothes or money or alcohol or food or, everybody's got their thing of choice, right? For me, it's clothes. I love clothes. I love them. And so you're finding out what is enough and it is a long journey. It takes a long time, and you can't look to everybody else's definition of what is enough is so different. So I think my perspective is that we all are walking, we all are able to walk a different path to the same place, and everyone's going to be different, because some people might not struggle with enough, but they might struggle with purpose, or they might struggle with feeling like they're a victim, being victimized, or people might struggle with betrayal, rejection, abandonment. So we all have our struggles, and so I think we all really want to be happy. So how do we wake up every day, choosing to be happy? I wish it was that easy, right? It's not that easy. You say, well, I chose to wake up happy today, but the truth is you made a lot of sacrifices, and you trusted and had faith in you, and that you could find a place for yourself where you could allow yourself to have the choice of being happy. And a lot of people don't. They don't. Yeah. We talk about gratitude. Yeah. We talk about gratitude. And we just say, all you need is the attitude of gratitude. Just shift your mindset. Yeah. And honestly, Christina, it's not that easy. Yeah. When we don't know what enough is, when we are in a lack mentality, when I only have 3 pairs of jeans and I want 20, God damn it. Yeah. How can I be grateful for the 3 pairs of jeans I have? Yeah. Sometimes those awful moments, those winters that we go through, give us what we've already talked, perspective. Yes. Right? And then we find out what another piece of enough is for us. Yes. And that brings us to this place of for a moment in time, look at those 3 pairs of jeans and be really grateful, and it's enough. You have to walk through the winter to get there. Yeah. And someone just said that prior in a talk I had earlier this morning, that things are really tough sometimes, and you're like, why does it have to be that way? Why can't things always be cheery and yummy? Why does it have to be icky sometimes? But I said, honestly, and I've thought about this, and, when I meditate and such sometimes, like, if things were super duper awesome all the time, we wouldn't even know it was awesome, because we would have nothing to compare it to. It would just, absolutely, as she said, it would be vanilla. So we wouldn't know chocolate unless we had something to compare it to. Absolutely. So it actually, now looking back 10 years ago when I was in corporate and I was like feeling miserable like you, the job was not the greatest job, but hello, New York City, there's billions of jobs. I could have looked for another one, but we but we get into this mindset, and like you said, lack, where you feel like there is no other option. And it's, I call, and I've had this happen to me in the cockpit when I'm flying, and my teacher was teaching me, you get so tunnel vision that you don't see anything but what's right in front of you, and you feel like that is the only option. Right. But it's when you can step back a little bit and give yourself a little perspective, that key word again, where you can start to say, oh, well, there are some other options here. But it takes, as you said, getting to the moment where you can let go and step back. And it's not an easy process. I mean, it's taken years for me to be able to be like, oh, look, I can step back and here's some more options. So Christina, when I started therapy, so once I had these aha moments, right, my early 30s, and I thought, well, who do I go to? Who would be the first person I would go to be my mentor, teacher, whatever, to help me shift how I think, how I live, how I react, whatever. I said, well, a therapist. So I went to this wonderful clinical psychologist, and we would meet every 2 weeks. And I swear to God, Christina, she could have just like tape recorded. She could have tape recorded this and played it every session.
Oh my.
She goes, Cindy, is there another way to think about this? Is there another way to look at this situation? Is there another way that you could have reacted? So she was always asking me over, is there another way? I hear your way, but can you, like you said, tunnel vision, that's our tunnel vision.
Yeah.
Can you think of another way? And Christina, every time I would look at her and I'd go, hell no.
There is no other way. Yeah. But that's the thing, Cindy. What would you tell someone? Because I know I was there and you've been there. Yeah. You're sitting here and there's like, I only see one thing in front of me, honey. I don't see anything to my side, my left, my right, my back. What do you tell them to help them see another perspective? Or is it just that they just have to one day be able to open up a little bit and step back?
Well, you're not going to find someone. No one's going to ask me that unless they're ready to start shifting how they look at things. When they figure out that there is a disconnect between their reality and their truth, when they realize they are the common denominator in their happiness or in their misery, that's when we start asking the questions and being more open. And all I do is present other options. I go, okay, so you say it's either this way or that way, right? And they go, yes. And I said, well, hello, welcome to humanity. When we get triggered, when we get sad, disappointed, angry, whatever, we go to either or thinking. It's either this or it's this. Right, black, good, bad, right, wrong. But look at this. Look at all the space in between. So let's think of some other things that you could possibly do, or some other choices that we could possibly give you to react, think about. And so they'll maybe get like one other thing, and then they look at me like deer crossing, like a deer in the headlights. And so then I start going, well, what about this? Or what about that? And then that inspires them. And then they go, oh, well, what about this? Or what about that? And we sit there and we brainstorm. They're not all great options necessarily. There are a lot that we're going to knock out. But anybody, especially who's been in business and has done any kind of a brainstorming session, you throw out every option that's possible to narrow it down to the right one for the moment, for the environment, for whatever you're talking about. So when people can understand that there are more choices and consider other choices, it's so empowering. Because
oh my God, yes.
Now you're not trapped. You mean I don't have to be angry about this? You mean they really weren't saying this about me? Or you mean they weren't telling me I'm bad?
I totally see where you're coming from, because really sometimes it's just stepping back, but you can't do it until you're ready. And I remember there was after being in a situation that was really icky for quite some time, going from one icky frying pan to another, I joined this Central Park meetup self-help group.
Nice.
And it was the first time I entered the realm of self-help where it wasn't just a book, it was actual people.
Right.
And it just transformed my perspective. And talking to people about weird stuff, like energy healing and stuff like that, and kinesis stuff, and I was like, whoa, weird stuff. But just starting to be in an environment, and this is something we can talk about, of different people with different perspectives and different ways of seeing the world is what really started to get my eyes open. Share a little bit about how maybe connecting with other different minds or different people and stuff like that can really help open up your perspective.
Well, everybody has different life experiences. Everybody has different filters. And on my quest, that was my goal, to meet with other like-minded people who wanted to find their happy or had already found some of their happy and were still searching to find more happy. And when you start surrounding yourself, and there's one of my amazing teachers from Brennan, Michael Mervosh, he has a company now, it's called The Hero's Journey, and he helps people transform their lives through taking these journeys. And one of the things he says that it is so, it's almost like one of those you want to slap yourself in the head moments, but it was so poignant. He says, we all have stuff that we want to accomplish in our lives. We all have obstacles and struggles. Just haven't been able to heal. And they still follow us around and torment us. And he says, we're all brilliant people. Don't you think that if you could have, you would have figured this out by now on your own? And you're sitting there going, oh, yeah. And he's like, so you need the power of the we, W-E. When you start enlisting your we, right, you start gaining other people's perspectives. You start being mirrored in a different way by other people, right? People who are like-minded, people who really see you, people who are invested in you, people who want to help you, and you want to help them. And when we find our we, whether it be our therapists, our teachers, our friends, our peers, our mentors, our guides, our shaman, our priests, our whatever, they all have gifts to bring us. We can't do this alone. And then we start realizing I need help from other people who have other gifts to bring me. Then we start opening ourselves up. That is when we start walking our path. But we're not, okay, so when I talk to my clients, I tell them, this is not a path where you are going to speed down. You are the tortoise. You are not the hare. This is a path that we take slowly. It's because it's supposed to be slow. And I don't know, Christina, I don't know how old you are. I'm pretty sure I'm older than you, but I loved the Carol Burnett show when I was growing up.
I remember that, yeah.
Okay, so you remember Tim Conway? Okay, so everybody who's 50 and over will remember the Carol Burnett show, and Tim Conway, who is freaking hilarious. And he used to play this character where he was an older man, and he was like a businessman, and he had this secretary called Mrs. Huygens. Right? And he would shuffle, right, along, and it would take him like 10 minutes to get from like the doorway to her desk, right? And Mrs. Huygens, and he'd be talking to her with his finger pointed or whatever. And that is our path to happiness. Our path to happiness is that shuffle. It's not going to be a race to the finish.
And it's funny, we think we have to race. And I've said to myself in past recent times, like, race to where? Where are we trying to get to? Our life is however long it is on this planet. Where are we racing to get to? There's no speed race here to get to. I think, and its success is kind of paired in with happiness. Oh, I want success, I want happiness. But really, when you get to quote unquote happiness or success, then what? You know, it's going to, as we said, there's winters or summers or springs. It's not going to be like, you know, boom, we're a success and the rest of our life is having it made and everything's peachy. We never have a problem again. No, there will again be difficulties, unhappy situations and unsuccess and unfeeling.
Right, challenges to increase learning. So another fabulous teacher I had, Dr. Mary Anderson at the Cardinal Center of Healing. And I'm not getting anything from, I want people to reach out and find other teachers that I have benefited from as well. And she used to say, Cindy, you go from boulders to rocks, from rocks to pebbles, from pebbles to sand. And so these themes in your life, like enoughness, right? When we just don't know what enough is, we're never pretty enough, smart enough, successful enough, we never have enough money, whatever. That's a theme. That theme is first a boulder, and then eventually is sand. So we have to we will continually throughout our lives keep that theme with us, but it will get more and more subtle. But let me tell you, a piece of sand in your shoe still hurts like bloody hell, and it will finally annoy you enough to go, oh, okay, so what's here? What do I need to fix? What do I need to change? What do I need to heal? What more is there for me to walk, to shuffle, Tim Conway, like down this path. And so we talked a little bit earlier, and one of the themes, again, that we've already talked about today, but I want to keep hitting on is, because people struggle with it so much, is this enoughness piece. And I think people are getting it, because when people start going, you know what, I want to be happy, and to be happy, I need to redefine everything I've thought I've defined in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to redefine what happy is. We're going to redefine success.
Yeah.
We're going to redefine fullness.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I think the tiny house movement, I'm fascinated by it.
Yeah.
Fascinated by it. Because I don't think I could do it.
Yeah.
I think I'd probably go a little nutsy cuckoo and after a while, but I am so intrigued by the people that can find that little 200 square feet
Mm-hmm.
right, on a trailer that they can take anywhere in the United States or anywhere in Europe or anywhere, whatever, wherever their tiny house is. And that's enough.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they don't have to make the six-figure incomes. They don't have to have the 6, 10, 20,000 square foot homes. Other things make them happy, like being able to travel, like being on a big piece of land, like being by the beach, but they can't afford a beach house. So what do? They get a tiny house and they put that on the beach. And that's
That's amazing. Yeah. And what's amazing about that, and you mentioned earlier how sometimes it's sacrifice. Now, sacrifice has gotten a bad rap. Sacrifice, ooh, ick, you have to give up stuff. But the interesting about sacrifice is that it doesn't always have to be about things. You're giving up ideas. Like for me, what really shifted more than anything about, being enough for me was like being enough and being successful enough and am I doing enough and blah, blah, blah. Am I pleasing people? And I realized that what I had to give up was my ideas and beliefs about that. And that was the shift more than anything else. And as I said earlier, it's still an ongoing process for me. But sometimes the sacrifice isn't so much things, material things, which it can lead to that. But sometimes it's really the first getting rid of and changing and eliminating certain beliefs that stand in your way to where you truly desire to be.
Right, and those beliefs are created from the time that we're really young. And sometimes beliefs are definitions, right? And sometimes they're from this happened, and this is why it happened, so now this is what I need to do in the future to make this happen or not happen again. So beliefs, and they're very, very powerful. So like I grew up in a beautiful old farmhouse on 2 acres on a mountain in Connecticut. And my father was a first-generation immigrant from Greece. So his parents came over through Ellis Island, and he grew up where he only had 1 pair of shoes every year. They didn't always have meat on the table. In fact, most days they didn't have meat on the table. So he very, very poor. And my father's belief and definition of success was he was the only person in his family who graduated high school, let alone went to college, finished college, and got a graduate degree. He was the only person in his family to own a home, and to own a home in the country where they had space and land. So I grew up in this, beautiful, fairly large home with space, and that's imprinted. And to shift from that, and my father's, so coming from that Depression era, the more money you have, the happier you will be, because he grew up without money. A lot of unhappiness, right? And he blames that unhappiness on money. And you didn't have a home, and you didn't have, Christmas presents. Well, he was Jewish, so you didn't have Hanukkah presents and whatever. And he loved Christmas, my father. He still does to this day, but he's the only Jew I know that loves Christmas. But anyway, so I had to, for me to be happy and to find my enoughness, I had to shift these beliefs that were imprinted upon me from a very early age. And there were a lot of them, a lot of beliefs around what women could do, couldn't do, what we needed men for, if we were powerful, not powerful, the bigger house, the more money in the bank account, that was what you strived for. And I had to come to my own definitions. I think you've been following me on Facebook just like I've been following you.
Yeah.
I don't understand people who don't, but you've seen that I just bought this new house.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And we talk about sacrificing, right? So 10 years? Yes. 10 plus years ago, I lived in a beautiful 6,000 square foot home on 5 acres right outside of DC in Fairfax, Virginia. I had a closet filled with designer clothes. I had furs, I had diamonds, I had my jewelry box was completely full. I had 3 horses, 4 dogs, 2 cats. I drove this beautiful big ass amazing truck. I loved my truck. That only got 17 miles to the gallon, but that's okay because we had plenty of money. Mm-hmm. Again, I was still miserable.
Yeah.
And so it was a process for me of having to be, okay, so this was what I grew up with, right? This was the belief system that I was living under, that this was supposed to make me happy. Mm-hmm. Right? And I had to redefine and figure out, right, what ultimately was going to make me happy. And the house I just bought is 2,000 square feet. It's on an acre, but most of it is woods. We can't see our neighbors, which I'm fine with seeing neighbors, but it's really cool that we can't see our neighbors. It is what we call our sanctuary of enoughness.
I love that.
It was a whole lot cheaper than a 6,000 square foot house on 5 acres in Virginia. And it's perfect for us and for where we are, and it makes me happy. I don't even have a closet. I have to have a closet built. That's how fun. I didn't even think about that, Christina. That's hilarious. I don't even have a closet.
Yeah.
So I really had to downsize. I mean, I've had to really be okay with it and not think that I was being deprived or God was depriving me. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a shift. It's really, as we started with the start of our conversation, it's a shift in perspective. And for, it's not, it's an ongoing process, an ongoing journey. You just don't boom, arrive there. And, it's what makes everything awesome, that your life is really a tremendous, wonderful journey, and to not rush it. And what I know worked for me along the way is that meeting different perspective and different people who are like-minded and that they all want to shift and grow, that you get to ask different questions by hanging out with people that get you to see things just a teeny bit different. And then they say, well, how about this? I'm like, oh, I never considered that. And then you get to look at it that perspective, and it just gets you to shift a little teeny weeny bit, sometimes just a degree or so, that gets you to see things like, well, I do have enough clothes to wear. I am happy with what I'm wearing. And, it's funny because sometimes I have all these clothes I used to have in the past. I used to buy a lot of clothes, but I only wear the things I'm most comfortable with and like the most, which is a very small amount of my closet. And it was my partner who said, most of the stuff you have, you barely ever touch.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting, an interesting little shift in perspective. Well, it's been such a fascinating conversation. I don't want people to leave without finding out how they can work with you, find out more about you.
Well, I would love, and as I said, I have lots and lots of teachers, and I promote all of the people that have been significant in my life and the things that they are doing on my Transformational Healing, or Transform Heal, I think it is, Facebook page. So that's a good way to find me and follow me and my work, and I love to give people tips, and I put videos and all kinds of stuff. But they can go to my website, which is www.transform-heal.com, and I'm launching this wonderful Quest for Happiness program in my practice that I think will bring so many people more happiness, and by more happiness, more gratitude, by more gratitude, more fullness, and more fullness, more change of perspective in their lives, so that they can find their own beauty. Because that's something we struggle with, right? Finding our own beauty and finding more passion, because while we're unhappy, we're losing our passion, right, to live. So we want to find our happy so we can find more passion, and we are okay with our redefinitions of life so that we can be more full. So I love my job. I love walking with my clients and helping them dance in the rain. And they can even call me. Anybody can call me, 703-966 7620, and we can do a phone consult and see if we can tweak their lives a bit, give them a change in perspective so they can find more happiness in their life.
That's fabulous. Thank you so much. This has been tremendous having you out here sharing this very important topic, quest to happiness, which everyone I talk to wants to find that ultimate goal of success and happiness. With you and with all of us together asking questions and building a better community, we can do it together. So again, that we factor.
Yeah, it's the we. Thank you,
The we factor.
It's the we.
Yes, thank you so much, Cindy. I want to thank you again for coming and sharing on
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Okay, we'll talk soon, Christina.